left the contact numbers on this sheet, and I pray that God will make one or two of you available for that position. In closing, I would just say that every time I get a chance to speak on the subject of homelessness, I'm immediately drawn to Matthew 25, in which the Lord is speaking to his disciples, and he's telling them a parable about the hungry, being hungry, and you gave me to meat, and being thirsty, and you gave me to drink, and a stranger, and you took me in, and naked, and you clothed me. And then the disciples said to him, when did we see thee in these situations, huh? And he says to them, inasmuch as you did it to the least of mine, you did it also unto me. I know that we are all aware of that, and in our hearts we want to do the very best we can. So I ask you to pray. I ask you to do whatever little bits you can to feed the hungry. Give drink to the thirsty. Take a stranger in. Clothe the naked. Do it for the love of Christ. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Some of you don't know what a huge heart Jeanette has. And, she has a long history working with the Friendship Center in New Britain. She's now retired from that work. But this lady has spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours working with homeless people, trying to give them guidance, help them get medical care, and all of these things. And we are so grateful. Doing things that the rest of us would find very challenging to do. Would you just talk about it a little bit? What's in your heart that enables you to do that?
Oh, dear. Well, first of all, these people are people. And my basic premise is you treat them with respect as people, and they respond. It doesn't matter whether they're clothed in shabby clothes or are dirty. It doesn't matter. They are people, and I find that when you respond that way to them, they respond back, whether they're mentally ill or not, whether they're addicted or not. This is how they will respond to you as a human being. And I treat them all that way, and I find within them some special gift that they have. I have found more musicians, you wouldn't believe it. I really have, and there's one guy who's a really excellent harmonica player when he's not in jail and not drunk, but he is very, very good, and I have used that on the streets. When he is out of control, I'll have a harmonica in my pocket. I'll give him a harmonica to him. He's golden. Be off, mellow out, and we're fine. And I found people who play guitars, play keyboards. It's just amazing. And artists, you wouldn't believe the artists I have found. And there's one individual who is mentally ill, bipolar disease, but what an artist. And he often ends up in jail, but he just draws and draws and paints incredible pieces of work. So well, when I first went to the Friendship Center, my goal was to bring them, or to somehow get medical help, because there was not a big connection. Now we have a tremendous connection. We have people who come out once a week from the community health center, and they're there all day. They treat them, they give them prescriptions. Listen, they get better care than we do sometimes. I mean, if they need an MRI, they can get an MRI much easier than I can. But they need it as well. And dental health was very, very poor. And now we have, twice a year, I think we have free dental hygiene. People sign up and come, and it's really caught on. But that's been the community in New Britain, and they've been wonderful. And also, there was one man, I'll just tell you one man, then I could go on forever, I'll stop. I didn't even know I was going to talk. There's one man who we called Big John. Now this man had size 13 shoe, width D, and he, very large man, and I found out that his father was a doctor. But he had schizophrenia, although he wouldn't tell you that. He would tell you that he served in the Army, or the Navy. He was a SEAL, yes, he was a SEAL. And he has about 3 or 4 degrees from Yale, and it went on and on. But the bottom line was he had a leg that was seriously infected, and he had it in a plastic bag, and I could not get anybody to come out with me to help him. Finally, it got so bad, and this is over like 5 years now. I gained his trust, and I could go talk to him, and I could bring him food and coffee and stuff, but I could not get at that leg. And one day, another homeless person I became very close to saw him and went up to him and said, "Big John, you've got to go to the hospital. This is too bad." So this individual called 911, and they took Big John to the hospital, which actually saved his leg and his life. He's now in a nursing home. He said, "I thought I'd always end up here." But very smart guy, but he just couldn't accept any help. But finally, because of another homeless individual, he did. So he's one of my favorites, Big John. Listen, it took a long time to find out his real name. That was, but I did. So, anybody have any questions? I'm not there anymore. And if you know Ellen Simpson, she's the executive director at the Friendship Center. And I still talk in the we. They were able to put together 21 units where they case manage all of these. And that is the key, I think, is case management, for people to have somebody they can go to and have them guide them through, what do I do with this check I get? How do I spend it? How do I not spend it on drugs or alcohol and so forth? But there are 21 units, and it works out well because they are able to put people in them who would normally not be accepted in the general public. Like if you've committed a felony, people don't want to give you housing. So again, it's through gaining trust, through working with them, and seeing them as individuals and as people of God.
Thank you. Thank you. Praise God, we have people like Tom and like Jeanette and like our volunteers who have that substance in their hearts that enables them to care in this way for the outcast, those who have had terrible tragedies in their lives, whose lives are broken, who yearn for a homeland, who want to come back to that place that is safe and secure. A little bit later in the worship service, I'm going to say a little blessing over our church family who are volunteering at the shelter here in Wallingford, and we are so grateful for that volunteer gift. And as Tom indicated to us, if there is anyone who might be able periodically to receive training and stay overnight at the shelter along with a paid staff member, that would be very, very helpful, especially in the winter that we are now approaching. I don't know whether to rely upon it or not, but the Farmer's Almanac says we are going to have one of the coldest winters we have had in years. When I consider 20 degrees, 10 degrees, and no place to stay, that's pretty daunting. This past week, I've been working with a family who is currently in public housing here in Wallingford, and they're going through a terrible time financially, and they are in real risk of losing their placement in the public housing unit where they are. What will happen to them? They will be homeless if they lose their dwelling. And this is a very real